At one point in the process of digesting any major pattern of energy, which is what human interactions are, it's useful to consider the mythological dimension and also the persona dimension. So much of reality is fractal or holographic in nature. Patterns repeat at smaller and larger scales, and in the process of creating a trifecta of perspective, looking at a pattern from a micro or you could think of subatomic particles, but in this case, subpersona personalities or subpersonality personas, the level of the life interaction, and then the mythological dimension, the archetypal dimension. We're looking at the same pattern from three different zoom settings. And one of the nice things about the current reality is we get to learn what works. So we experience ourselves nested within a reality. And so I'm the one who is relating to you and this in this way and this in this way. And there is a probability field in that reality or at that level. There's a probability field. And a certain amount of well-being and a certain amount of suffering results in habitual patterns over time. And then we learn that we can change our relationship with these things that we have seemingly no control over. I say, I need help, you say yes, or you say no. I just do my part. If you say no, maybe I go over here and say, how about this? And so in that reality, or at that setting, we're within what might be called the larger self, but in this paradigm, the larger pattern. We're a part of a larger pattern, and we get to see what part we identify with. And it's the part that we're aware of through the body. Now, at the sub-personality level, we're also in the dynamic, but at this zoom-in level, we exist, or at least have a greater tendency to exist as the witness. Because if I say I'm me, and this part of me is angry, and this part of me is 5 years old, and this part of me is hurt, and this part of me is lonely, and this part of me doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, and this part of me is abusing this part of me. My feminine energy is complaining. Why doesn't anyone care for me? You rotten masculine energy. The masculine energy is saying, go fuck yourself. I'm not your slave. I'm not going to be, told what to do. And so they're in that dynamic. My feminine energy is waiting around for my masculine energy to accommodate her needs. And my masculine energy is saying, you're not appreciating anything. Go do it yourself. And so there's that dynamic. And that dynamic doesn't change until the witness looking down says, oh, the feminine self is frightened and blaming and complaining about the masculine self, and the masculine self feels shamed and criticized and is not attending to the feminine self. No one's particularly happy in this fairy tale. So what do we do? Well, how do we start the ball rolling? Do we go to our feminine self and say, feminine self, masculine self over there is feeling very underappreciated and doesn't want to automatically be burdened and blamed if you don't get what you need, and has needs themselves. Do you want to appreciate or support or honor in any way the masculine self? The feminine self may be there in a frozen state and just say, I don't know, I just want someone to fix this. Okay? You go over to the masculine self. Feminine self over there is feeling underappreciated, is feeling scared, is needing something. And she's afraid you're not going to show up and meet the need. Is there anything you're willing and able to give to the feminine self? And the nice thing about this particular refraction of the pattern, or this particular zoom lens, is the witness is bigger than the subpersonas. And so at this level, the witness can say, you know what, masculine self? I see what you've done. You rented feminine self a motorcycle. You brushed feminine self's teeth. You didn't want to do it. You just knew she'd feel better if you brushed your teeth, and you did it. Good job. Masculine self perks up. Says somebody's paying attention. Yeah, I'm paying attention. Thank you. Thank you for being one of my parts. And thank you for being the discipline that ensures that feminine self is safer than she would otherwise be, healthier than she'd otherwise be, blah, blah, blah. And so thank you for brushing your teeth. Thank you for renting a motorbike. Thank you for going and getting vegetables. Thank you for preparing the vegetables. And yes, it does suck that feminine self just sat there moping about all the injustices in the world and didn't thank you for getting her the ingredients and making her a carrot salad. That sucks. And masculine self says, finally, someone's listening, someone's understanding. You go over to the feminine self. It does suck that masculine self doesn't know how to care for you. It does suck that your feelings, you told masculine self that you were scared, and masculine self told you to shut up. He was busy driving to the supermarket and said, get out of my way, shut up, and you felt small. Of course you felt small. You communicated to masculine self that you had a need, that you were going through something. And he told you to get lost. He was going to get vegetables to make you a salad. Terrible. It is terrible. What am I supposed to do when a car nearly runs into us and then this happens and this? You know, it's like all this stuff is going on and masculine self doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He doesn't listen to my feelings. He doesn't slow down and really help me breathe back into my body. And how am I supposed to enjoy a carrot salad when I'm still recovering from a near-death experience and I don't want to go out, but masculine self is planning on all these activities, etc., for my own good. I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with it. And the witness can sit there. You are absolutely right. But let me tell you a secret. Nobody taught masculine self how to take care of you in this cult. No one gave him a roadmap. In fact, masculine self started out taking care of you, and he was called a pussy. He was humiliated for being so sensitive. And he blames you for that. Me? He blames me? Yes, he blames you because your feelings and his effort to deal with them got him humiliated. How's he going to take care of you in a fucked up cult that shames him for acknowledging your existence? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? This is terrible. It is. It's absolutely terrible. But you're not alone anymore. You're not alone. I'm paying attention to both of you. You're both right. I understand you both. It's not fair. It's suboptimal. Tell me about it. You can let your fear off your chest. Well, feminine self feels a lot better afterwards. Well, maybe you could tell masculine self that you understand it's not all his fault, that he was raised in an education protocol that did not include a single hour of emotional literacy. Maybe you could tell him that you understand how frightening it is to be given a job to do and then be interrupted with too much stuff to respond to, and to be blamed if he doesn't get the job done, and blamed if he doesn't listen to the feelings in a cult that doesn't teach him how to do that. Well, now that you put it that way, I'm sorry, masculine self, that I haven't understood what's going on. You see, a masculine self can give a hug and feel relieved. Someone's paying attention. Someone understands how difficult it is to be masculine self. Well, at the subatomic or subpersonality level, the witness, well, these are just two faces in the present time. The witness can witness and hold space for the masculine self in present age and the feminine self at 3 years old, who never got her needs met either, and who shows up sometimes in present time to present masculine self, and present day feminine self is saying, go out and get a job so that you can buy me lots of delicious food and take me on vacation and get me an upgrade into first class. Go out and do all that, masculine self, so that I can enjoy myself. Masculine self is saying, oh my gosh, the economy isn't what it was, and this and that. Okay, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to go out and make feminine self happy. Then 3-year-old feminine self comes up and says, hey, don't drive so fast, don't go do this. And present day masculine self says, future day feminine self, your future self, the present day feminine, is telling me to hurry up and get this done. Now you're telling me I'm going too fast, I'm overwhelming you, you don't want to have the interview? You, 3-year-old feminine self, doesn't want to have the interview that I've got to have so that 45-year-old feminine self can get the money that... This is too much. Go away, 3-year-old feminine self. Leave me alone. 3-year-old feminine self is terrified. No one's listening to me. Everyone's shoving me into a box. Who's going to be there if I find myself alone in a traumatic situation I don't know how to repair? The witness. I will be there, holding you in your tears. And I'm sorry there was no adult to witness you when you were 3 years old. And I'm sorry it has taken me this long to be here today? Well, this is a dimension of the interaction, of the pattern, in which a lot can change. A number of things can shift at the microcosmic level, the subpersonality level of the inner dialogue. Well, it's really the dialogue, or the pattern. The pattern of interaction. It's the pattern of interaction. Whether it's happening out there in the world, or whether it's happening in here in the world, or whether it's happening up there in the world, in the mythological domain, where the archetypal energies embodied in a healthy cosmology with all the different deities tell the narratives throughout history of the way different energies permutate and interact with one another. Or maybe it's in the dreamscape, where the symbols with emotional charges have complex relationships with one another. Or maybe it's in the mathematical geometrical level, where the tapestry of equations, 2 + 2 = 4 times 6 = 24 minus 2 = 22. That's how we got to 22. Interesting. If we want to get to 28, how are we going to do it? How are we going to do it? Are we going to add 6? Are we going to add 2 times 3? What are we going to do to get here? The mathematics inform us on a dimensional level about the shift in relationship that is needed to get from here to there. Sometimes the energy is too stuck, too heavy, too dense, too traumatic to encounter in the relational level of life. And going inside to the fractal pattern of the collapsed inner child in the face of the tyrannical abuser can be too much also. Seeing the mathematics of psyche expressed across the cosmos and throughout time in the archetypal figures of each cult's mythology. A healthy cult, hopefully, that has within it the positive and negative expression of at least 12 faces of the psyche. The psyche, like any energy system, is spherical, is circular. If you follow a circle, you remain in polarity at every point around the circle, with other points of the circle, and therein lies its strength, not its weakness. The warrior and the lover at one face of the psyche, 6 and 12 o'clock, complement one another. Why go to war if there is not something you love to defend? Who heals the wounded warrior but the lover? Who protects the love that is sacred, if not the boundary that says, not on my watch? Who honors the integrity, the beauty of the feminine, if not the masculine that says, I've got your back? Not on my watch. This boundary will not be broken. And in the transcendent expression of that, the willingness to face death, to transcend the fractal pattern of the human individual ego, to be a part of a larger body, a larger organism that is willing to celebrate the dissolution or the penetration of a fractal barrier from the subpersonal to the personal, from the personal to the transcendent. No energy is created or destroyed, it just takes a different form. When you willingly die, remember that wonderful scene in, was it Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, when Obi-Wan Kenobi faces Vader? You cannot win, Darth. If you strike me down, I will emerge more powerful than you can possibly imagine. He removes his weapon and changes the fractal zoom of his consciousness. No longer the personal, no longer the personal ego. Already identifying so fully with the larger transcendent pattern of the same dynamic that to face death, to honor the boundary, to honor a truth, a beauty, a goodness, is to transcend the set, is to identify with that which cannot be destroyed. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transformed. When you identify with the energy that is beneath the form that can and will change, you become immortal, because energy is immortal. The form of energy is as fickle as the waves. For a human ego to connect primarily with the face of immortality is an order of magnitude more potent, more powerful than to identify with the shape that will always change. Change is inevitable. It's the only constant in the outer world. Nothing lasts. So we have these different lenses through which to view reality. We are a participant. There are no observers. In that way, it is our reality. It is not random that we found ourselves here. And the crisis of consciousness comes in a cult paradigm that severs the connection between the relationship of the witness and the reality which we co-create as witness, as subpersonas in the witnessing dynamic, in the internal dialogue. And that being said, the meaning, the purpose, the intention of being in a fractal pattern, of being in a conversation, of being in a field. Every pattern creates a field. Every field is a pattern and precipitates a pattern. The energy field, the field of consciousness, precipitates or potentiates, makes probable a realization. For example, the consciousness of the polarity of good and evil, in which evil is bad and must be killed at all costs, and good is good and has to kill evil and all that. That's a field of consciousness. That field of consciousness precipitates the perception of polarity. In a paradigm in which half of reality is good and half of it is bad, in a paradigm that pits half of the self against half of the self, within that paradigm, there is a probability field. Conflict is, of course, inevitable. It makes perfect sense. We have to fight what is bad, and we have to elevate what is good. That probability doesn't shift until there's a change in consciousness. A change in consciousness. And the change in consciousness leads to a different paradigm. And the different paradigm leads to a different view, a different hierarchy of values, which leads to a different pattern of engagement, which leads to a different probability field of suffering and well-being, a different probability field of grace, the efficiency with which energy interacts and dances in a state of well-being. The mythologies help us understand that it's not personal, that the mathematics of consciousness exist independent and beyond the scope of the human personality. Hurt, betrayal, terror, and helplessness combine to create hate. You delete helplessness and replace it with empowerment, the hate dissipates. You need a number of specific things to create hate. Blue and yellow combine to create green. If you delete the yellow, you get blue. You delete the blue, you get yellow. Together, you get green. These archetypal relationships are transpersonal. They're bigger than the individual self. It's a useful set of rules to know. Because when you're in this set, those are the rules of the game. If you're playing a video game, you're playing the game by the rules the programmer set. You can exit the game and play another game. You can exit the game, learn programming, and change the rules. But when you're playing a game, you're playing within a framework of principles and rules that are not personal. The mythological dimension reveals at its best, well, let's say, an intelligently constructed, up-to-date, coherent presentation of the mythological dimension reveals the patterns of energy we are in the midst of and what the rules of the game are at a non-personal level. It can be very useful when going through trauma, when going through death, when going through uncertainty, pain, terror, when touching faces of transcendent love, when exploring ecstasy in its dark or positive side, ecstasis, the transcendent. It can be useful to look through the mythological lens, to understand that a bit of Prometheus lives in you, a bit of Aphrodite lives in you, but that you are not Prometheus, you are not Aphrodite. And if you try and confuse this distinction between a little bit of this is in you, and that this can help you understand that part of you, and the delusions of grandiosity that says, I am Aphrodite. There is no boundary between us. Here we have the violation of the personal set, because one can drink a glass of water. One drowns if one tries to become the ocean. The energy is too big. The boundary between these two sets must be honored. If the individual cell in a body grasps the field of the body through the resonance of the field around the body and confuses itself with the ego, of which it is a very, very tiny part, you get a certain amount of insanity. There's a lack of distinction. Finally, if the subatomic or subpersonality personas within the psyche confuse the fact that within a marriage there is a certain tendency towards resonance. The woman you marry is going to have a certain resonance with the state, level of consciousness, skill, and habits of the inner feminine. Because the goal is not to have a marriage that for no particular reason transcends and is vastly superior to the inner dialogue, the inner marriage between masculine and feminine. The reason these patterns fractally line up, the reason we unconsciously find people who, if we have a complaining, frightened inner feminine self, is a complaining, frightened woman, or in homosexual or lesbian marriages, it doesn't matter the gender, a human being who plays that role, is because that's where our work is. The greatest growth for a human being comes in getting to know, for the witness to fully get to know all parts of itself. One, like taking inventory. And you get to see, okay, we've got this. There's all this hurt over here. What are you going to do about it? You're going to drink? You're going to play video games and avoid it? You're going to go walk over there and say, what's all this hurt? How did you get here? Oh, I see. Anything I can do to help? Oh, you want me to go talk to that person? I see. Well, I'll see you next year. Not up for that right now, but at least we know what's going on. Okay. What about this over here? What do we do? You have to take inventory. Okay. You're the company owner. You got a bunch of stuff. The building here, this there. What are you going to do? I don't know. Well, you could copy someone else who seems to be doing something halfway decent. Okay, maybe I'll ask them, what should I do? Well, you should do this and this like I do. Well, I'm doing that and it's not working out the same way. Well, figure it out. Okay, so here we have the crisis of the psychologically illiterate, emotionally illiterate, relationally illiterate, traumatically illiterate human ego, who doesn't know what to do with the data presented to them. They don't know how to be responsible because they don't know how to respond in a sustainable way that works, because they don't have other people in the outer reality that know how to respond in a way that works. I talk to this person and they lie. Well, I don't know what I can do with that. It's obviously not true, but does lying work sometimes? I mean, is that what I need to maybe fake it till you make it? I'm feeling great. Everything's wonderful. Everything is. Don't ask me any details. Everything. So you slept optimally last night? No, just everything. Everything is great. I see. Don't look at me. So this is kind of the job. And the nice thing about having a scared and ungrateful wife that mirrors the scared and ungrateful feminine on the inside, which corresponds to the masculine that doesn't know how to take care of her on the inside. The nice thing about that is you get to experiment. You can experiment at every dimension or every fractal, set point. So you can go down on the inner world and you can say, okay, feminine self, what do you think the masculine self could do that would make you feel great? He could praise me. He could touch me. I mean, like this. No, find someone else to touch me and teach them. Maybe a masseuse or something. You could touch me. That makes you feel good. Yes, find someone to do that for 2 or 3 hours. That would be great. You'd like some spaghetti and some flowers on the plate. Okay, so your theory is that if I get masculine self to get you a 2 or 3 hour massage like that, spaghetti and flowers, that you'll feel great. Yes, I think so. Okay, I'm on it. Masculine self, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go out and look for some spaghetti. We're going to start talking with masseuses. We're going to tell them how to touch us. We're going to show them. Can they do it? Okay, so show me your touch. Okay. Yep, that's what my feminine self likes. Okay, good, good. Found the masseuse. Oh, we have to go get some money. What are we going to do? Wouldn't it be nice if someone wanted to hire us for something intelligent, but they want this and this. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, feminine self, how was it? The waiters didn't smile at me. We need spaghetti with flowers in the restaurant with smiling waitresses. I see. Okay. Anyone got any ideas? Okay. How's that? Yes, I like that one. I like that one. Get me that waitress again. Yes, and maybe some chocolate cake. Okay, so, very good. How was the massage? Well, it was great, except for that person next door kept talking on their phone, ruining our nice, peaceful state. Private room massage. Okay, all right. Very good. How are we doing? You feel great. I feel exhausted. Okay. Can we appreciate all this effort? We've made some movement. Okay, this all happens in the subpersonality level. The inner feminine is actually speaking, and the inner masculine is listening, and the inner feminine is feeling respected and feeling great, and the inner masculine is feeling appreciated. Aha, okay. Now we go to our wife, right? You there, who doesn't know how to talk and say what you're really wanting. What do you want? I don't know. Well, I've got some ideas for you. My inner feminine likes a 2 to 3 hour massage like this. Do you like being touched like this? Oh, you don't know, but your body's lighting up. Your body's lighting up. I think you like that. Okay. Let's drive you off. We're now in the outer world, right? Let's drive you off to the masseuse. Private room, this and that and the other. And 2 or 3 hours, let's see how you feel. Okay, how you feel? 2 hours was too much. Okay, 1 hour. Good, we're getting somewhere. And I'm going to drive you off to a restaurant and give you flowers and spaghetti with a smiling waitress. What do you think? How do you like it? Too spicy. Okay, good job. All right. Let's do it again. No spice. Have to tell the waitresses these things. Okay, no spice. How are you feeling? Oh, you're feeling great. Good. All right. Now maybe you've now learned from my inner feminine how to enjoy yourself. And my inner masculine has taught my outer masculine how to care for my wife. I've now got a happy inner feminine self. I've got a happy marriage. It can go the other way round. I'm frozen, I'm terrified, I'm lonely, I'm scared, I don't know what to do. Okay? Oh my goodness. And anyone else in there? Oh gosh, it's painful just to look. Okay? We're going to go into outer reality mode. Out there. Who knows how to love this part of me? Anyone? Anyone? I feel overwhelmed. I feel lonely. Let's see. Anyone on Amazon know how to do this? Okay. Books for overwhelm and loneliness. Okay. Buy that one. Buy that one. Buy that one. Buy that one. My gosh, I can't read these books. Okay. Let's get Audible. Listen to this one. Listen to this one. So-and-so got good results doing this. I have no idea if that's going to work. Neither have I. Okay, let's get moving. Let's give it a shot. So-and-so said that moving lights go back and forth and you think about traumatic events and you feel better. No one seems to know how it works, but seems to be a breakthrough for some people. Let's schedule a session. $165 to look at moving lights going back and forth. That's a bit pricey. Could we get an app? Ooh, $14.95 on the Windows Store, and you can have the same moving lights going back and forth on the screen anytime you want. Let's give it a shot. See if it works. And so there's an experimentation. There's a responsibility. The ability and willingness to respond is the signature of an adult, taking responsibility and ownership for a pattern of which we are a part. And the outer dimension of this is distinct, but they tend to correlate. What do I mean? Well, if I know for sure that listening to the feelings of my feminine self makes her feel great, and I know for sure because I've had 10 conversations with you, and you've never listened to my feelings. You've listened to what's interesting, meaning when I point out some bizarre fact, you say, oh, that's very interesting, and discuss it. And when I point out that I'm sad, you ignore it as if I haven't said anything. I see. And that's never worked on the inside. I know. Time to make a request. Will you prioritize the topic or focus of the conversation based on the emotional intensity setting? In other words, whoever is having the strongest feeling about something, that we respond and empathize with that feeling, whatever it's about, until it feels respected and honored. Then we move on to the next thing. Would you be willing to do that? No. I am an American and I don't believe in empathizing about feelings. Okay, thank you so much. We now know you're committed to not doing the one thing that seems most important to do in the inner relationship. Thank you so much for the opportunity to learn what doesn't work. Goodbye. I'm going to find a new pattern of energy in the outer reality, that works. I'm going to do that. I was watching that couple. He said he felt hurt, and she said, changing the subject, she immediately said, I'm so sorry. Tell me all about that. She just did what my inner feminine does to my inner masculine. And she did a good job. Madam, would you like to be my friend? Do you have any other similarly equipped, intelligent, feminine friends if you are too busy? I admire the competency of your empathy. Transition occurs. And there is a distinction, in this kind of insanity. It's sometimes said, like your outer reality directly reflects, if someone hits you, that's because, you created them hitting you, that kind of thing. There may be a level at which that is relevant or in which we participate in a field. The other thing that's, I think, very important to understand is that there is a wide range of resonance in response to pain. And what I mean by that is there's a painful pattern in the outer reality. Someone got hurt. They're miserable, they're suicidal, whatever. Someone got hurt. Painful pattern in the outer reality. One, at a low level of resonance, one person is causing that painful hurt by violating boundaries. Violation. Another person is allowing that hurt. They're watching a horrendous field of pain unfold, and they're doing nothing. Another person is engaging in preventing the hurt. Another person is trying to understand the hurt and looking at it and saying, wow, why does that happen, and really understanding it. Another person is practicing staying in their body around massive traumatic pain. Another person is facing their fears and simulating. They're imagining they're the one being hurt, and they're still saying, I'm going to go on, I'm going to face the world, even though terrible things happen to good people and stuff like that. Another person is sending unconditional love to the victim of pain. Another person is, fighting with the person causing the pain. Hey, that's not what we do around here. Learning the healthy use of anger and dynamic energy. Another one is focusing on healing. Anytime hurt has already happened, I mend the bandages. I listen. I'm a great listener. No, I don't stop hurt. No, I don't fight the abuser. No, what I do is once all that has happened, I show up and heal the wounds. I'm in the role of the Red Cross, basically. And that's what I do. And I grow and I learn by becoming better and better at healing the pain caused by this person and this person and this person. Another person analyzes cult dynamics. Because what I do is I understand that the individual dynamics are a microcosm of the cult in which the individual belongs. And I understand that all cults need to evolve. So what I do is I try and capture in words, in language, in diagram, I try and capture the pattern that results in unnecessary pain, connect the personal pattern to the group pattern, and bring it to the attention of everyone in the group so that it can be a preventative, kind of a medicinal awareness. Because one of the things pain does as a beautiful teacher, in the context of time, through fear. You see, fear is pain projected and worried about in the future. If there's no pain, you have no fear. If there's no future, you have no fear. Fear is not about the present moment. It may be about 5 seconds ahead of the present moment. You see a big bus coming towards you, but you're not afraid if that's a static image. If it's a photograph and there's a bus static 5 seconds away from the person, there's no fear. It is the process of time as that bus rapidly drives towards someone in the middle of the road that creates the fear. It is pain projected into the future that creates fear. And fear is a teacher. It says, that happened before. I mean, obviously, you wouldn't be afraid of a bus driving towards someone if you'd never experienced the law of mass, if you've never experienced suffering. You say, what's going to happen next? This is so exciting. Maybe I'll disappear into a bus. Instead, it's like, my goodness, a bicycle ran into me, and I couldn't get out of bed for 2 days, and every minute of it was agony. This bus is bigger than the bicycle. I should be much more worried about it. And so fear teaches us, this happened before. Pain and suffering on the way. Ding, 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 ding. Move, do something, get the pain and suffering out of the way. So pain and fear are teachers to say, it's never really worked to create racism. People have done it throughout history. It's just never led to human well-being. It's kind of dehumanizing, really, because if you think about it, they're a human being, and you're treating them like shit. Now, if the only reason you should be treated well is you have a different skin color, I mean, is that terribly encouraging? Luck of the draw? genetic lottery. I mean, is this really what your whole foundation of value rests on? You happen to have a different pigment? Are you saying that if you get tattooed, that could be a nice way to counteract racism, wouldn't it? Let's tattoo white people black. And then tell them they're shit because their skin color has changed. I mean, is that really it? There's nothing in me in there? I mean, it's just kind of a little bit disappointing that that's the entire basis of my transcendent value is I happen to be born in a country where the sun doesn't shine as much. I mean, one could feel sorry for such people. The sun doesn't shine very much. You poor things. You know, gosh, I wish you had brown skin like us. We have lots of sun and it encourages well-being. You might be less worried about punishing other people if you were happier and had more vitamin D in your body. It's like, oh my goodness. So these are levels with which to deal with reality. The adult is the witness who responds with a balance of competency and love. Love starts the process of caring. When you love enough, you care. When you care enough, you look. When you look enough, you see. When you see enough, you understand. When you understand, in the visceral alignment of mirror neurons, you empathize. You empathize. And with that empathy comes compassion for suffering, joy and celebration of success, etc., etc. You empathize. When you empathize with what you understand, you attune. When you attune to the person you empathize with, you create a competent interaction. The attunement process is one of continual dialogue, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, logistically, culturally, spiritually. It is a process of continual dialogue. How am I doing? How's my template for showing up for you? Here's how you're showing up or not showing up for me. What you said was quite funny. Shouting it in my ear, not so much. What you did over here was nice if it had been on a Saturday morning, not a Wednesday afternoon. I have clients, you see. Attunement, 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 attunement. Now, reactive attunement is a recipe in failure. Trying to guess someone's 10,000 different secret rules. Oh, I like flowers delivered, but only on a Saturday morning when I'm home for the weekend. I see. Well, how long is it going to take you to guess that? Very long. How many times will you continue to expend energy when there's about 10,000 ways you can fail? I don't know, at about probably somewhere between 100 and 500 attempts in which you learn that everything you're doing is wrong at one level or another. It's not a very good use of my energy. On the other hand, if you communicate, if you attune, if you say, do it like this and not this, and if I ask you and say, how would you like me to do it? And you say, I'd like you to do it like this and like this and like this, and then I do it that way, and you say, that's great. Oh, this is easy. This is so much fun. Because now we've got efficient attunement, not guesswork followed by blame and poker face. We've got successful attunement, which means we've got successful, efficient flow, which means we've got a more intelligent dynamic where we spend relatively little energy to create a lot of mutual value. Now we have a sustainable relationship on the outside, And if we do this successfully on the outside in one relationship, we can learn from habits and take it into the inside. You know, I'll bet if my inner masculine was as polite to me, the inner feminine, as you are polite to me, the female, I'll bet if my inner masculine was as polite to my inner feminine as you, the man, are polite to me, the female, I'll bet my inner feminine would feel quite appreciated most of the time. And if she felt quite appreciated most of the time by my inner masculine, she might not have quite the burden of debt to place into the hands of the first man that comes into her life, which is all the things that her inner masculine didn't appreciate about her. You mean to say you've said this and you said that and your inner masculine didn't tell you how great and wonderful you are? No, they didn't. Now you're going to do it. Well, 5 years of catching up on all the things you didn't appreciate about you is a lot to deal with. Well, it's obviously a lot more fun when you come in highly charged because you know how to take care of you. But how do we learn that? In the maturation process, we take our templates from our parents. So it's really a great benefit if we get at least one role model who actually knows how to love themselves. A rare thing in our cult, and thus the crisis. Some people are drawn to an energy pattern to give unconditional love. Some people to empathize. Some people to commiserate. They wait around for someone else to experience their particular wound that they haven't gotten over, and they say, I know what you mean, those bastards, you know. And so that's their main kind of hook into the wound dynamic. Another, it's, gee, I just can't love the abuser in me. All those times that this bitch in here just blamed and punished the shit out of this guy in here, decades, just so painful to look at that. I can't forgive the abuser. And I can't forgive the abuser out there either. They did it. Those bastards. And I don't know how to deal with it in here. So I'm going to keep dealing with it out there. I'm going to keep finding myself in the proximity of a wound to reenact my current pattern. Because all medicine, all healing, is a process of recognizing this is what's going on, acknowledging it's going on and it has something to do with me. I'm a participant. I'm not just a passive observer. And understanding this is what happens when this pattern occurs. And then forgiving and changing the dynamic. I'm no longer going to do this because I understand it, because I don't need to do it. I have a better way to meet my needs. Before, I didn't know any other way to do it than this. And everyone got hurt every single time. But now I'm going to do it differently. And you don't really forgive something until you understand and shift the dynamic. There's nothing, well, I mean, it's the forgiving is the giving up of the energy that's in the pattern. It's letting go and it's like opening the cage. I've got a part of myself locked up in this dynamic. It goes round and round and round and round and round. It's a dynamic of pain. So it goes pain, 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 pain. When you undo the key and open that up and say, be free, energy, go do something more constructive than go round and round in pain. The energy says, have you learned the lesson? Do you understand why this shape, why this geometry, why this dynamic creates pain? No idea, I'm not interested. It doesn't shift then. So then you have a new pain. And then maybe you gave yourself for the first pain, but now you don't forgive yourself for not changing. Or you don't forgive yourself for the stupidity of doing it over and over again, whatever it is. The I'm not forgiving this, it correlates with I'm not facing being responsible, being able and willing to respond. I don't know how to respond to this. If I just forget this and release the energy, it'll happen again because I don't know how I got in here. I'm still blaming my parents, and they're still the same way they were before. So if my parents are why I'm in pain, then I will be in pain again tomorrow because my parents aren't changing, and they're why I'm in pain. And so I'm going to be in more pain. So I haven't shifted the pattern. So if I just forget it, it'll just come up again and come up again. I've got to understand the pattern, how it got created, and I've got to understand my role in it. And then I've got to understand my latitude in the role. If I'm chained in a cage as a male or a female, hostage, whatever, I may not have a lot of latitude. If I'm an employee in a capitalist cult that requires money to survive, and I don't know how to get another job, and this is a monopoly company. I mean, this company hires 80% of the people in this town. What are my options? No, I don't like the sexual harassment at work. But what do I do about it? What do I do? I can't do anything in here. I don't know what to do. My inner masculine doesn't hurt my feminine that way. What's it going to be? No rent? Or this chronic low-grade abuse? I don't like either of it. And I don't like myself for not knowing what else to do. But I don't. You have a conundrum. You have a conundrum. And no system is totally closed. This is the gift of the multiverse. No system is totally closed. The answer may be on another dimension, in another location, in a choice that is outside the paradigm but readily available to you. From the miracle of asking for help from a transcendent energy that you are willing and able to let in. Obviously hard to do if you don't believe in it is possible. Your beliefs create the grid through which energy can become conscious. Something happens that you don't believe can happen, you quickly discount it, rationalize it away, and get rid of it. You have to have a space big enough for the energy to come in that door. Those are called paradigms and then subsequently beliefs. You don't have them, they can't come in. There are no good men. Good men cannot enter through that doorway, by the way. It's been very interesting. I've never lied. I've never cheated. Don't drink. Most of my life had zero addictions and hiding. But you meet a woman for whom there are no good men, and you're trying to lie to me, aren't you? I know all men cheat and do this and that and the other. Oh, I don't exist. You see, but I don't have to exist for you. Because this other woman knows there are some good men. And so she's got a door for me to walk in easily. And I don't have to convince you that good men exist. I just notice that if you behave this way towards every good man that comes your way, they're probably going to do what I do and walk over here, where someone has the door open and says, "Thank you for arriving. I knew you'd show up. You're one of those good men that I like. Sit down, have some tea. I think I'm going to form my relationship over here." So we need a paradigm. We need a belief, that is big enough to let something in, and that's part of it, part of the dance of creating. But every single one of us is a participant. And usually what's going on out there has some correlation with what's going on here. The range of interaction with the pattern, as I say, can be one of compassionate healing. Better than in superiority is probably causative, meaning there are no witnesses. If you're not there as a proactive healer, you're just, oh, what an idiot that person was and what a dumb person that one is. So you're interacting with the event as an abuser, as a shamer in that dynamic. And people are not as, just like with you on the inner self, the presenting persona in the person may be that of the shamer or the violator, etc. That doesn't mean there are not a lot of other personas within them that are being violated by their own inner violator and that haven't had a chance to come out yet. And so that's also the very interesting thing. Just because I've turned you into a burnt cake by not adding enough milk and butter and turning up the oven to look at you, you're a burnt cake. Yeah, in my care, you become a burnt cake because I don't know how to respect and honor and navigate and bake with these ingredients. So I make burnt cakes, and you allowed yourself to be baked by me. You came under my influence, and I said, do this and this and this, and you turned out a mess. Gardeners don't usually blame the roses for dying in the shade. They say, well, maybe we should put you in the sun where you can blossom. So, a couple of thoughts about engaging with reality through the different lenses, being an adult with responsibility, the transcendence of the simplistic thing that says that you create your own reality, and so if someone got in an auto accident near you, you caused that, and you did it because you're a bad person, as opposed to maybe you're practicing empathy, and you could be a great person to comfort someone in an auto accident, and so you didn't go out and shoot down the cars and stuff. You allowed that into your field so that you could practice compassion towards someone in an auto accident. Or maybe you allowed this person who's grieving because you've got unresolved grief, and they can teach you how to be honest with your feelings. Look at her. She's weeping. She's not holding anything back. You don't know how to do that in there. Look at her. Learn from her. Is she dying? Is she being humiliated? Oh, people are helping her. Amazing. Do you believe anyone would love and help you if you wept? No, I don't believe it. But look at her. Look at her. She's crying and someone helped her. But they don't help me. But it is possible. Yeah, it is possible. I'll give you that much. I'm not ready for it, but it is possible. Maybe I let that in so that I can learn that it's possible in this world. Or maybe I let in a sociopathic cruelty to help me grasp the fact that I'm dealing with my city and my culture as a detached sociopath. I see homeless people growing. I don't do anything about that. Maybe I'm teaching myself that this level of disengagement with my community is not working. And it's going to create other people who are as sociopathic towards me as I am towards them. What do we do? What do we do about it? How do we respond? Well, let's practice on the inside. You in there who I've been treating like dirt, you the abused child who I haven't bothered to say anything nice to in years. You feel a bit hostile towards me for ignoring you? Okay, great. You're sabotaging me because, well, it's the only way to get my attention? Okay. So what would I have to do to really learn to love you? How would I care about you? Since I don't really know how to love. Might start with crying, eh? Wow, that's hard. No one cared for me when I cried. Oh, goodness. This is heavy. I need some help. Yeah, I'm going to have to ask for help. I don't know how to do this. And I don't like it. I want to blame you because I feel small that I need help in a cult that shames me for having needs. I feel small. I don't like it. Maybe I learn how to love this inner self. Love this inner self. When I figure that out, I then go and help the homeless in my town using the same protocol. Hello, just checking in. Anything I can do to help? Like to hear your story. Yep, I understand. And I know I'm not a very trustworthy person. You've gotten tired of all the cars driving by pretending you're not a human being who doesn't have any needs. I get it. Here's my card. You want to talk? I'm here. And I'll stop by again, maybe with a dish or something later. Take care. And just be yourself. Okay. Well, wow. Suddenly, we have a homeless person who's working with the issues towards reintegrating in the cult and providing value for the cult, the same way the reintegrated wounded self provides strength, dignity, and honor to the individual, or that mark the dishonor of the ego by existing. Do you understand that every single homeless person in your town is shouting viscerally, "You have no honor. You are not honoring your humanity." They are a symptom of dishonor of the essential value in the self. Every unloved part inside gives us the message, you don't know how to love. You don't know how to care for us. We are in shame. We are inadequate to respond when we have plenty. All it takes is a little appreciation. All it takes is a little empathy. All it takes is a little understanding, and there is none. There is shame and hostility in there. This is a shame. This is a violation. This is a threat to the integrity, to the integration of the inner self. This weakens the self. This weakens the town. This weakens the country. It's the same fractal pattern, just on a different Zoom setting.